Teaching number 167. From many hearts the question rises to God, Lord, will the pain that afflicts this world last forever? To which the Master replies, No, my beloved children, your pain will disappear when you come to find true love. Although there is much talk of love on earth, in reality it does not exist between you. There are those who fake it, others confuse it with a selfish feeling and others with a low passion. Falsehood reigns in the human heart, lies prevail, love, friendship, charity are feigned. The weed has grown and spread everywhere and only the fire of pain will be the one that will exterminate it. That fire will be lit by men with their wars of ideas, creeds, philosophies and sciences. It is the war that is approaching with great steps. There, in that fire that will be kindled by their own ambitions, passions and hatreds, they will find their purification. They have wanted it that way, they have demanded it that way. How is it going to be possible for men to love each other as brothers, if they have not come to cleanse their hearts? A great trial is necessary in the world for them to come out clean, because pain purifies. I also tell you, men must believe in men, have faith and trust in each other, because you must convince yourselves that on earth everyone needs each other. Do not think that I am flattered when you say that you have faith in me and I know that you doubt the whole world, because what I expect of you is that you love me through the love that you lavish on your fellow men, forgiving those who offend and hurt you, imparting charity to the poorest, smallest or weakest, loving your brothers without distinction and putting in all your works the greatest selflessness and truth. Learn from me that I have never doubted you, that I have faith in your salvation and trust that you will rise to attain true life. Although on the outside there is much falsehood in the works of men, there is not one within which there is not a part of truth. That part is the spark of spiritual light that it carries within itself, it is my divine presence, a spark that illuminates it interiorly. I will make that light that is mine shine in each heart and that its reflection is manifested in each one of your works. I want you to live in the truth, and for this it is necessary that all evil die. Those of you who are aware of the hour that is approaching, watch and pray from today, announce that battle to your brothers as prophets, so that they prepare and do not despair in the moments of bitterness during the coming fight. Be convinced that all lands will bear fruit when they are ready, my seed is ready to descend upon them. Each human being will be a plant that flourishes and bears fruits of love, thus fulfilling the destiny of all creation. In the plant kingdom there are parasitic, useless plants, do not imitate their example. Do you know why the Father expects from you only fruits of love? Because the seed of life that I placed in each being, the original seed, was love. If at times, as it happens in plants, you have apparently dried up, if you have withered at times or have felt the anguish of thirst, it is not because the water of my grace has been lacking. My source of love has eternally overflowed over every spirit and over every heart like a sprinkler of life. But these human plants, endowed with spirit, have free will and because of the misuse of this precious gift, they move away from that divine grace, which is the only thing that can save and strengthen the spirit. How different you are from the plants of the earth that always submissive in their place, receive whatever comes from God's charity. You all believe you have loved in your life, and I tell you, there have been those who have truly loved, while others confuse passions and selfishness with love. The perfect lesson I gave you through Jesus. Analyze my passage through the world as a man from birth to death and you will have love explained in a vivid and perfect way. I do not come to ask you to be equal to Jesus, because in him there was something that you cannot reach, to be perfect as a man, since the one who was in him was God himself in a limited way, but I do tell you that you should imitate him. My eternal law has always spoken to you of that love. I told you in the early times, you shall love God with all your heart and spirit, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Later I gave you these inspirations, love your brothers as the Father has loved you, love one another. At this time I have revealed to you that you love God before everything created, that you love God in everything that exists and that which exists in God, that you practice charity and more charity with your brothers so that you see the Father in all his splendor, because charity is love. Never before has man been in a position to love himself through a spiritual worship, free from impurities. The pagan and Gentile times are long gone, idolatry, which has been present in all worships and in all times, has tired the spirits with its materialism and its false splendor. The generations that will practice the spiritual worship of my divinity arise throughout all the points of the earth are near, and when that worship comes to establish a kingdom of peace and light among humanity, religious fanaticism will disappear from men, because in spirituality there is no place for passions or ignorance. Do not stop because you look at the road long thinking that you will never reach the end. Keep going, because an instant that you lose, later your spirit will mourn. Who told you that the goal is in this world? Who has taught you that death is the end and that in that moment you will be able to reach my kingdom? Death is like a brief sleep, after which, once the strength is repaired, the spirit will wake up under the caress of my light, like a new day that begins for it. Death is the key that opens the doors of the prison in which you find yourself by being attached to matter and is, at the same time, the key that opens the doors of eternity. This planet, converted by human imperfections into a valley of atonement, has been captivity and exile for the spirit. Truly I tell you, that life on earth is one more step on the ladder of life. Why don't you understand it that way, so that you take advantage of all its lessons? It is the reason why many have to return to it, again and again, because they did not understand or profit from their previous life. In the men of tomorrow there will be so much spirituality and understanding of the evolution that their spirit must reach, that when they penetrate the agony and find themselves one step away from death, they and those who accompany them in that hour, that moment as the most beautiful of all their existence, the one that should be like the culmination of a fruitful and profitable life, and they can say like their Master on the cross, "Everything is finished. I come to speak to you, in a fatherly tone and in simple language. Full of mysteries, you awaited my new manifestation at this time, and your surprise has been great when contemplating the simplicity of my lessons and the humility in the way I speak to you." Elijah arrived like a ray of light in the middle of a storm, followed by his invisible hosts, his great legions of spirits of light, who follow him as the sheep follow the shepherd. He walks making way for the multitudes, knocking down brambles and thorns to the right and left to open a gap for those who come after him and uniting the spirits who recognize in his voice that of the shepherd who in this time will lead them to me. Don't you remember that it was Elijah's sheep that gave you testimony of my presence and invited you to join the flock to follow in the footsteps of the shepherd? Arise, humanity, find the way, find the reason for life. Unite peoples with peoples, love each other. How thin is the wall that divides one home from another, and yet how distant are its inhabitants from one another. And in the borders of your peoples, how many conditions for you to let the foreigner pass. And if you do this among humans, what have you done with those who are in another life? You have placed between them and you, if not the veil of your forgetfulness, the veil of your ignorance that is like a dense darkness. When I contemplate the inhabitants of this world, I see that all peoples know my name, that millions of men speak my words, and yet, verily I tell you that I do not see love for one another. Everything I teach you in this time, and everything that happens in the world, is the explanation and fulfillment of the revelation that through my apostle John, I made to humanity. When my disciple lived on the island of Patmos, I took him in spirit to the heights, to the divine plane, to the unfathomable, to show him through symbols the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, and he saw the events that were, those that were and those that would be. Nothing was understood at that moment, but my voice told him, "What you see and hear, write it down," and he wrote. John had disciples who looked for him in his retreat crossing the sea in boats. Those men eagerly asked the one who was a disciple of Jesus, how the Master had been, what his word and his miracles were like, and John, imitating his Lord in love and wisdom, amazed them with his word. But when old age came, that body already overwhelmed by time, it still had the strength to bear witness to its Master and say to his disciples, "Love one another." Those who sought him, seeing that the day of John's departure was approaching, and wanting to possess all the wisdom that the apostle treasured, asked him to reveal to them how much he had learned from his Master, and for every answer they always heard that phrase, "Love each other." Those who asked with so much eagerness and interest, felt disappointed and thought that old age had erased the words of Christ from their memory. I tell you that not one of my words had been erased from John, but from all my lessons that which condenses the entire law sprouted as a single essence, love for one another. How could the lesson of the Master whom he loved so much be erased from that beloved disciple? Do you know, disciples of this time, if, when the year 1950, the last of my communication arrives, I will also tell you as a lesson, a euro of 1.5 euro. Everything you encounter speaks to you of these lessons, the tree, spreading its leaves to give you shade, the flower shedding its petals after you inhale its fragrance and turning its sacrifice into your delight. That is the way, that is why I have told you to love God in everything created and all of creation in God, because I am present in everything and I speak to you in everything. I see all men sick, whether in body or spirit. Men in whose interior only the constant call of conscience is heard, seek me as a source of health, because I possess the balm that heals all ills. But for me to manifest my power among you, it is necessary that you present me your heart clean of stains. You want me to pour out my power and my wonders on your path, and I am willing to grant it to you. The Arcanum of your Father only awaits your preparation to overflow with health, strength and light. Today my word cultivates you, it is seed and irrigation at the same time, and tomorrow, when the weather is right, I will come to reap the harvest of love, the golden wheat of my fields. Do you wonder why I am always correcting your faults and imperfections? It is that I come to cut the weeds and the nettle that have grown in your heart and have drowned your good feelings. This time is one of purification. Not only human beings must wash their stains in the crystalline waters of my justice, spirits are also subject to this purification. When men are cleansed of all stain, they will feel that the earth approaches heaven. That approach will be spiritual and will fill you with peace, trust and recognition. Disciples, if in your repose you take care to analyze my word, you will come to find in its essence a complete reason and an infinite justice. My word awakens men to a higher life, to a happy existence, but if it was necessary for you that I speak to you in this way to achieve awakening, there have been some worlds for which the materialization of the spiritual has not been necessary, to awaken them to the fulfillment of my law. The intuitive spiritualists, the inspired ones, the dreamers, they carry me in their hearts without having heard the word that you have been receiving, while they communicate spiritually with their master. You will meet them on your way and you will be surprised by their knowledge in my work. They too, when they find you, will rejoice to confirm their ideas and their works, to hear your testimony and your explanations, but may they not find in your concepts, practices and worship, or in your life, something that denies the spirituality of my doctrine, because then they will move away from your path, with disappointment in their hearts. Watch and pray, disciples, so that you understand my lessons and apply them in your life with the same purity with which you have received them. Then the joy in your heart will be great, when you meet those whom I have called intuitive spiritualists. One and the other will come to form a strong people in the world, that with their living and their love for others, you will come to teach humanity, the true worship of God, and also show them the path of goodwill to live in peace on earth. In the humility of your prayer you tell me, Lord, if you are the supreme Creator, and also our Father, do with us what you please. If it is in your will that pain be the one that polishes our hearts, let it be done to us what your will has ordered. If you want us to purify ourselves before you entrust us with a mission, let it be as you have ordered. There are few who speak to me like this, but I use them to give you the example of what your meekness and submission should be before the Father's mandates. But to all of you I am giving my teaching so that you may become equally humble and obedient. Sometimes my word will seem full of justice and will touch the sensitivity of those who listen to it, but you will always find it imbued with a divine essence, with great tenderness and infinite charity, which will make it always be listened to with delight and with interest. If my word were to overwhelm you, you would not be able to analyze it, and I want you to meditate on the divine lessons that I teach you, because the one who analyzes is inspired, and the one who is inspired by divine love, that is already my disciple. O spiritualist disciples, do not fear the fulfillment of your mission because it is not difficult to fulfill. With wisdom I guide you along the way so that you do not stumble, so that no one is lost, but because I prepare the way for you, do not think that it is strewn with roses, no, on it you will find thorns and trials. I tell you that whoever wants to follow me or whoever wants to find me must prefer the path of sacrifice and renunciation to that of insane pleasures and low passions, because on that path you will be able to find the joys that they provide you, my strength and my encouragement, and in the second, stumbling very painfully. My divine footprint, my footprint of love, you will always find on the path of struggle, sacrifice, charity and humility. Men are like children who do not meditate on the consequences of their actions, and that is why they fail to understand that a stumbling block they find on their way is only an obstacle that the Master put to stop their foolish career or to prevent them from making a bad decision. I want you to behave like adults, to meditate on your works, your actions, to think about your words. This is the way to apply prudence and justice to your life. In addition, you must reflect that life is an immense and constant test for the spirit. On my path no one succumbs, and although there are times when man falls bowed down by the weight of the cross, a superior force lifts him up and encourages him. That force comes from faith. Blessed disciples, truly I tell you that if the people practiced my teaching, the good news of my word would have already reached many hearts. With the example of the works of your life you would be giving the greatest of the testimonies about the truth of my doctrine. Let none believe that those present are destined to do everything. No, people, each generation is in charge of carrying out a part of my work. Make your heart a vessel and let the time come that overflows in the hearts of your brothers, but do not form obstacles that delay or prevent the advancement of my doctrine, because with great pain, whether physical or spiritual, you would have to destroy them. Make your brothers feel all that is healthy and good in my work. I tell you that whoever you make feel the divine outpouring that emanates from it, that one will bless my word. What I have done with you, I will allow you to do with your brothers, because if my word was the one that worked the miracle, you carry that word in your heart and it is the same that you must transmit to your brothers. If I healed you of the spirit and of the body, if I gave you back peace or made faith born in your heart and took you out of the abyss, you must do the same with all those in need, but I must warn you that for my word to work these miracles, it is essential that you first feel it in your heart, as your Father feels it when He gives it to you. If you want to know the virtue and power of my word, put it into practice and many times you will marvel, but if you keep it in your heart only for your own amusement, you will be like the rich miser, who does not know what he has, nor the value of what he owns, because his treasure is a dead wealth. Learn to fish for hearts in the storms of this life, to heal the sick and to lead spirits. Prepare yourself spiritually, and in it you will come to find a strength that will allow you to go through trials with serenity and confidence. That spirituality will be reflected in your material life and will be sustenance, balm and a torch that lights your path. Bread will become scarce on the table of your home, without your body experiencing hunger, or weakening its energies. Days of pain and desolation will come, in which epidemics devastate the cities, and there, where there is no doctor, nor medicine, my invisible balm will manifest, which will descend at the moment of my children's prayer, but you must make merits before the days of desolation approach, so that then, instead of worrying about your own pain, you go to calm that of your brothers. Light lamps of faith in the hearts of your brothers, teach them to pronounce my name with all respect, to venerate my doctrine and to pray with the Spirit. Remember that man does not live by bread alone, but also by every word that comes from the Lord. My peace be with you.